all here, washers and other components. Let's see here. Okay, the track bar Heim joints. This is like I say, this just came in now here on a prompter here, was sent to us here from the office. It says here that the rear track bars had additional parts added to them. On the track bar, the tie rod end, the Heim joints, things like that, the mounting bolts, additional hardware was put in place. Okay, that's it. That's all it is. Additional hardware was put into place on the rear track bar, rear Heim joints. Now that we understand what the penalty was for, $75,000. Was this warranted to put $75,000 fine out there for some washers on a Heim joint?
Again, they done it to get their attention. They did it to get their attention. Washers are washers.
Look, I can slap somebody in the head.
It's whatever. I mean, to give them an advantage, I don't know. Nobody really knows. But here's the bottom line: there is a rule book that NASCAR mandates that you have to follow. There is a blue-gray area that there are so many race teams and crews across the country that try to borderline get by with things. But if NASCAR feels that you're doing something that's giving them an advantage or even a disadvantage, I mean, I've seen ridiculous penalties handed down, and you're like, how in the hell did that even help the guy win the race? Or how did that even help the guy on the racetrack? Okay, the spoiler was 0.001 inches off the diameter of what it should have been. Okay, really?
Well,
you're going to penalize somebody for that much? Look, the bottom line is this. You play the game, you got to play by the rules. Rules are rules. Rules are rules. Rules are rules. And if you don't follow the rules, then you get punished.
All right, let me throw this in here now so a lot of race fans understand this here. A rule is not a rule until it becomes an infraction. Okay? The rule books are written not on what you cannot do. It's what they say you can do. But the gray line, the gray area is if it's not in the rule book, until you get caught, it does not become a rule.
Right.
So it's an infraction that creates the rule. Now, again, how much of let me back up here before I stick both feet in my mouth.
Watch it, G-Man.
As a former worker with NASCAR, as a former worker on trucks and on the Busch Series cars back when we had Tommy Ellis and Chuck Bound that I worked for, there are certain things out there on the race cars that NASCAR will claim to make that car much faster than any other car out there. There are things that you do. Now, the reason I'm going this way is because I want to get to these absolutely ridiculous P2 penalty fines that were imposed to J.D. Gibbs' 54 car in the Xfinity, Danica Patrick's team here, and I'll get to those in just a second. But
hey, and don't forget about Kevin Harvick being penalized and having to be set out 15 minutes for practice at Charlotte.
Yeah, I think 15 minutes. That's you're a bad boy. We're not going to put you in the corner. We're not going to slap your hand. We're going to make you sit out for 15 minutes. Wow, really? I mean, what did that do? Did that make him think that's like in kindergarten? You're not going to get any graham crackers or milk. You need to go take your nap.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, you're right.
That's exactly what it's like. It's just like kindergarten punishment here. Go, no milk, no cookies. Go sit in the corner, and then we can come back and play with the other kids in the sandbox.
But think about what you did.
That's right. Think about what you did. That's exactly what that 15 minutes was. It was time for him to pee in his little straw, and and just to think about what he done. But anyway, here.
Oh my goodness.
Let's really get to reality here. Let's talk brass tacks here and nuts and bolts and hardware here.
Yeah.
Did 4 washers make the difference? Did those 4 washers make up that much difference to make that car that much faster? Did it benefit?
You know what? We'd have to ask Clint Boyer or somebody at Michael Waltrip Racing, and if they did, they'd probably kill us.
Because it just goes to show you nothing to take. We're not trying to demeanor NASCAR, folks. We're not trying to put NASCAR down, because NASCAR, believe me, if they don't make the rules and set the precedent for people, again, we'll get into these P2 fines here, about a quarter inch and a flare.
And by the way, you've heard G-Man. He's the one talking smack. I'm the one that's saying that NASCAR has to do it to get people's attention.
Well,
So, all of our listeners, you hear that, okay?
They got to understand, it's the good guy, bad guy. You know how it is.
Right, absolutely.
But if you don't have a little spice and reality here, it's like ordering a cheeseburger without the cheese. You don't have anything. You've got to have a little spice of life. And NASCAR wanted to have a little bit of spice with their meal. And the way they do it here is we take a crew chief who is a good crew chief. I mean, Scott is a good crew chief. And we turn around and we suspend him. We fine him $75,000. And we put him on probation till next year because he put 4 washers in the track bar. Okay? Case closed. Case in point, no comment. I've said all I had to say. Yay, NASCAR. Your comments?
Case closed, in my opinion, and I'm sticking to it.
And that's your story, right?
They got to do it. They've got to do something to get their attention. And sadly, Clint Boyer was at the short end of that deal. Yeah.
Okay.
And by the way, you got the Danica Patricks and some other guys. I mean, hey, you talk about being in the corner for being a bad boy and being suspended 15 minutes for practice out Carbon Harvick. How about last weekend in Kentucky? Bubba Wallace Jr. and his crew driver or truck driver, they get penalized and put on probation and fined for using the word B and C to a female. We can't say what those words are, but you read between the lines and figure out the other spelling.
Now, absolutely. And now I have to agree with. You need to maintain, and don't get me wrong. Now, we've all heard it. Don't say we're all virgin ear to it. We have all heard NASCAR, race car drivers, outlaw drivers. We've heard them all. Everything from go-karts to the world of outlaws. We've heard them get out of their car and throw a couple of words out there that even we ain't never got no definition on. But
right. It's beep beep, son of a beep beep.
Yep, and the beep beeps turn into the bop bops, and next thing you know, we're shoving the camera guy, we're pushing the microphone out of somebody's hand, we're running in between buses and haulers, slapping and beating each other up.
Look, I'll never forget last year, I was at Charlotte at the Bank of America 500 when the fight happened between Bush and Matt Kenseth and all those guys. That was a pretty heated deal. I mean, and there was a lot of expletives going on. So, yeah. I look, like I said, NASCAR's just trying to restore order. They've got the gavel. They're trying to be the judge, and they got to get these drivers' attention. It's plain and simple.
Well, and again, they made their point. There's nothing you can do. You can't flip it around. And, the Boyer deal, they had the opportunity to go to appeal on this.
They're not going to appeal it.
And they're not going to. They're not going to choose to appeal it. What race fans got to understand is every time a fine is imposed to a driver, a team, or whatever, they have an opportunity and they have a time frame that they have to appeal an infraction, a call, a fine, a suspension, whatever it may be. And it is up to their choice if they want to pursue it or if they want to 86 it and be done with it. Right. In this particular case here, the 15 car, the team owners and everybody have decided to just let it go, 86 it. It is what it is. Deal with it and go on. In a way, it's a smart move. And the reason I say that, Wesley, a smart move is because if you were at the beginning of the season, I would pursue it. But we're so close now. We're towards the end of the season here. Clint Boyer's moving on, 2016. I think they did. Huh?
Exactly. That's what I said at the beginning. Who cares?
Yeah, let it roll. Let it go. I mean, it's done. It's over with. You spilled your milk, wash it up, and go on. All right, now.
Say this. If Boyer's intentions was to stay with Michael Waltrip Racing, but of course, let's face it, Michael Waltrip Racing's done. They're shutting their doors down. So Clint Boyer knows he's got to go somewhere else. That's why he's going to go to oh my goodness, H. Scott Motorsports for next year. And then he's going to follow the 5 Hour Energy sponsor to go with H. Scott Motorsports. And then in 2016, he's going to, or 2017, he's going to drive the number 14 Office Depot car that Tony Stewart has now. So, he's going to relinquish that driver's spot. If it had been that Michael Waltrip Racing was not going out of business, if it had been that he wasn't losing his ride and going to another company, you probably would have seen an appeal. But let's face it, ding, 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 even in an appeal, G-Man, it is a cold day in hell before NASCAR changes an appeal decision. I will put this in closing. I was at Daytona, working speed weeks, when Kurt Busch got busted for the whole Patricia Driscoll domestic violence mess that was so stupid. It got so blown out of proportion. NASCAR jumped the gun so quickly, and they punished that man. Do people not like Kurt Busch? No. Do I perfectly don't care for him too much? Nah, not really. But he's a heck of a driver. He's a heck of a talent. But I will say this, and it's just like they say in the court system. You were innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. G-Man, what gave NASCAR the right to punish and take away a driver's career when the court system had not even ruled on him being guilty of what supposedly turned out to be completely false? And his lawyers and Kurt Busch point blank said, we're going to appeal this. He went through 3 appeals before the Daytona 500, and they all got turned down. And I'm talking about appeals where even there was other powers that be in different companies of sponsors of NASCAR that had to hear the final saying. In an appeal process, you've got like 3 chances to appeal your decision. You and I both know that. Normally, like in the World Outlaws or Fast Track or Renegades of Dirt or Lucas Oil or whatnot, you get 1 chance in an appeal. And if you don't plead your case, then it's done. NASCAR gave him 3 times. Well, he got shot all 3 times. But again though, G-Man, Kurt Busch got so thrown under the coals of all of the things that happened. And I know that this is something that's a beaten subject, but NASCAR had to then turn back, retract, and apologize and give him his spot back. And on that May weekend at Richmond on a Sunday afternoon, when Kurt Busch took the checkered flag and won the damn race and solidified himself back in the chase hunt, it made my day, because he did not deserve to go through what he went through at Daytona.
I agree. I agree 100% on that. Now, you can go all the way back. You can go back to as far back when the late Tim Richmond was alive. Tim Richmond was no angel when it come to racing. Marty Robbins was another example right there. I mean, you can go back in history here and look at all the drivers that, had a reputation. Even Dale Earnhardt Sr. had a reputation of being, Ricky Rudd, Rusty Wallace, Darrell Waltrip. There were so many drivers out here that you could put a category of, have they said things out of line? Have they done things out of line? Have they gone above and beyond? Yes. What they did with Kurt Busch, do I agree? No. I don't believe and I don't feel, and I will never, ever take the stand behind the decision that NASCAR had to make for what they did with Busch on that deal. Because, like I say, you are not a judge, a jury, or a prosecutor. You are a third-party representative of. And that was something that had nothing to do with racing, had nothing to do with, because it took place, somebody had made a comment a while back here that because it took place at a NASCAR sanctioned facility. Well, you know what?
It took place at Dover, where they're at this weekend.
Exactly. And my comment was, it doesn't matter if it took place at a NASCAR track or at a local racetrack or whatever. It is not, it's a personal, it is a domestic issue, which has nothing to do. NASCAR has a tendency, to stick their nose into areas. And folks, please don't misunderstand us here. Before I make this comment here, WMRG 95.3 FM here with the G-Man and your host, Wesley Outland. Tonight's show, it's 9:59 here in the Carolinas. tonight's show is brought to you from the M1 Roofing Group out of Indian Trail, North Carolina. Look them up, www.m1roofing.com. Call them up, 704-234-2961. Also, the show is brought to you tonight from the good folks at the U.S. Bonding Company out of Charlotte, North Carolina. 704-3